Andy, so if we can look back at last week, quite a frustrating match from a supporter's point of view. A win was in our grasp and then suddenly it wasn't.
Yeah, and frustrating from the players' point of view. I think um, there was genuine expectation as the game proceeded that we were in with a shout. We obviously start games with that confidence, and obviously against sides lower down the division, you feel that you might be in with a shout. And so at half time, just a few points adrift, and then although they scored first in the second half, we then immediately got back on terms. So at 26-22, you're then starting to think, right, okay, one try and we're in the lead here. And we forced it and made a mistake, and they then scored a try, which then meant we were 2 scores behind, and so we had players trying to force the issue to get that fourth try and get a bonus point at least. So very disappointing. In other games we've got to half time, been in touch or been in front, and then fallen away badly in the second half. Whereas this time we were in there really until 10-15 minutes from the end, and then it just shows you how harsh this game can be. A moment's lack of concentration. And it only needs 2 or 3 tries, and before you know it, you're well and truly out of touch, and it looks like you've been hammered yet again. When those that were there and those that played know that it wasn't a hammering; it was a game that we had in our grasp for most of the game.
Definitely. Can you give us an update on our long-term injuries, people like Liam and Dave Wells?
Yeah, I'll try and sort of go through the list. Liam, I spoke to earlier on in the week. He is now starting to move his shoulder. It's well over 6 weeks since he broke it. It takes a bone 6 weeks to heal. Doesn't matter how it's broken or where it's broken. It takes 6 weeks. So he started to move his shoulder and start doing a little bit of strength work on it. He's now starting to run to help get his fitness back and everything. He's got an appointment with a specialist in about a week, 10 days' time, where hopefully they'll confirm that everything is going as planned. And then it'll just be a question of regaining the movement and regaining the strength. So, although the bone hopefully will be healed, I really don't see Liam being back much before the end of January. But at least he's on the mend, and the boys are really looking forward to having him back in the fold. Really.
Okay.
Dave Wells, who unfortunately for Dave has only played a few minutes against Henley. Came on, ran with the ball, passed it to somebody to score, and then that's the last we've seen of him. Dave's had a problem with his foot ever since then, and it's actually now been diagnosed as a fracture to a thing called a sesamoid bone in his foot, which is a very, very small bone around the toe, which allows the tendon to change direction and be more effective. And he's broken that, which is a really sort of strange injury. It was hoped that it would heal in its own good way, but it hasn't. So he's now had an operation, and he's going to be on crutches for a good few weeks, and then it'll take time to recover. So Dave's probably going to be back later than Liam, and yet he got injured before Liam with what appeared like a fairly innocuous foot injury. Jack Taggart broke his collarbone playing for a university just before we played Old Albanian. So Jack's probably got a few more weeks before that's fully healed, which is probably looking more towards the Christmas break, and so he should be back in reckoning after Christmas. And then another one who's not actually played at all, although he played in the pre-season against Bath, is Dan Thorne, who has had a real problem with his knee, and again he's been advised not to really get going until after Christmas. So they're the sort of the 4 long-term injuries. Robbie Arthur got a kick in the head playing for the university last week, so couldn't play for us last week, and he's going to be out again this week. But we seem to be okay front row wise. But they're the main injury concerns.
Okay, so how's the dodgy weather this week affected your preparation?
Well, to coin a phrase, been a nightmare. I'm not sure we're not the only ones. We the ground was really hard on Tuesday night, and so it wasn't really safe to train on. And so you start then looking around for sports halls around, and of course the sports halls are all booked up by clubs that need them in the winter months anyway. So cricket teams, badminton, volleyball, all of those sides that play indoors or need indoor facilities have already got them booked up anyway. So there was nowhere to train. Tuesdays is always an awkward night anyway because of the logistics of the team. So we didn't train on Tuesday, and then of course overnight we've had a lot of snow. The ground is still hard, so the pitches are still not able to be trained on, and there's still no sports halls. So it's difficult. You can't book halls up in the hope that you might need them one day, because the people that have these sports halls, the schools, obviously get a bit of revenue from them. So it's in their best interest to rent them out to someone who's going to use them. Maybe when we get our all-weather training facility in the future, that will allow us. But even that, I've heard the SARS clubs around the country have got them, and of course you get snow on them, you can't train them either. So it helps you when it's frosty, but it doesn't really help you when it's covered in sort of 6 inches of snow. So it's made it difficult. But I know that other sides have struggled. I'm not sure whether Worthing have managed to train this week. Certainly they're not training tonight because their pitches are unplayable. And a lot of the sides of the eastern side of the country have struggled. So it's just one of those things we'll have to take on the chin, and it will affect our preparation. But it's just to have to deal with it.
Okay, so as we speak, it's Thursday night, and the Worthing match is still on. Who's the team for Saturday?
The team for Saturday. Well, again, although we haven't seen them all, and I'm still waiting for one or two to confirm that they're okay, I'm assuming that things are okay. So we will go with the same front row as last week. Tom Fiddler, Ali Widdop and Luke Sawyer. Luke came in for his first game last week at very late notice, played very well, didn't look out of place, and so that was a huge plus for us, huge bonus. So those three in the front row. Andy Canuck and Ben West in the second row. Andy went off in the second half with a shoulder injury, but was seen by the physio on Tuesday and was declared okay again. So hopefully he's not going to have any ill effects of that. Same back row, which is good, of Greg Price, Paul Archer and Claude. And then Jack and Will Clark at the halfbacks. We're trying to give Martin Freeman, I know he's sort of a cult hero now, those who've watched Blues TV, and so we do need to be careful with all our players. But so we're trying to give Freeze a weekend free. He's been struggling with a groin problem and a knee problem. So we'd identified this weekend as perhaps one where we could give him a weekend off. So in the centre will be Tim Parker at inside centre, and Steve Datchell will move to outside centre. And then Johan, who had another good game at the weekend, on one wing, Joe Gren on the other, and then David Ferguson at fullback. Ian Herriot, unfortunately, is not available to us this weekend. And then on the bench, Tom Sanders has recovered from his knock on the head. Matt Holyland is available as well. And Jack Sawbridge, who's been away for a little while, doing all sorts of things with university. Harry Sparks and Ollie Spanswick. And we've got 2 or 3 who can step in should things go horribly wrong between now and Saturday. So we've got more than the 20 that we need, and we've got a good complement of front row. So we're not asking Greg Price to be a front row replacement anymore, and so we're starting to look a little bit stronger.
Okay, so let's hope the match happens.
Thank you.